have a 1 o'clock appointment. I'm thinking that's you. Yeah, please take the podium and turn the mic on, please. And state your name for the record, and we'll hear you out.
My name's Jason Wega. Last name's W-E-G-A.
Okay.
And my wife is also here with me, Cindy Wega. I'm just here to, I live in Lakes Muirfield. I've been out there for 2 years almost now. And I'm here just regarding the wastewater issue that we have that you are all familiar with. I'd like to start off with, me and my wife did a lot of due diligence with, before we moved out to Lakes Muirfield, because our realtor did tell us about the wastewater and some issues that they were having out there. Excuse me. I spoke to Wheatland County, Brenda. I also spoke to Jimmy Souza. I spoke to developers. I talked to real estate people. I talked to residents, and basically we were lied to, and it was misrepresented by almost everybody we talked to on what was going on out there. We were mostly worried about the wastewater. So we've had issues you guys all are aware of, and we're to the point now where it's just me and my wife in that house, and we're very cautious of our water. We're being charged by the meter, a percentage of the meter, and just for me and my wife alone, our bills are anywhere from $250 to $350 a month, and we can't afford that. I mean, you know, it's a lot of money. And we're being very cautious with our water. We don't flush our toilet every time. We don't water the grass all the time. And I mean, just to live like that is not right to begin with. And when you're paying that high of bills, you know, it's just, we just can't afford it anymore. And we're scared to do anything. We were told that there was a solution to the wastewater by Brenda. I realize she's not here anymore, but I was told to come out to Wheatland County and get an idea on what was the plan and all that sort of thing, and nothing's happened. We were told about Catalan. We were talked to about the homestead and all that. We found out now that the homestead is, we were told by Heather Dougal, the realtor, she does our newsletter, was told that it was approved and they should be digging in fall. Well, they didn't tell us that there was 29 conditions or whatever on top of that. As far as I'm concerned, that's just out the window. I mean, that's 7-10 years down the road before anything happens there. So now I've been told by Scott, and as well, I had a conversation with Jimmy Souza here last week that they're looking at purchasing a property adjacent to our land to do some sort of slough or whatever. I guess what it boils down to, I'm just hearing a lot of this, just a lot of talk, and there's no plan in place. I'm the only one that's doing anything out of that whole community. Everybody's got this to do. They talk, you know, and say that this is ridiculous, and we've got to move forward with this, and something's got to be done. We're getting tired of being lied to. We're tired of spending all this money, but nobody will come forward. And this is my first time being in a council meeting, and I talked to Scott briefly there last week. I've never done this. I don't know if it's going to do any good, but at least I'm on the record for trying to do something for Lakes Muirfield. The place is going downhill. It's turning into a dump. We've got weeds that are this high. I don't know if anybody's been out there lately. Weeds this high. I have an empty lot on the side of me that I've spent $300 just this season alone fighting off weeds. I'm picking up garbage from contractors and all that. Their garbage bins are overflowed. They've been warned and warned and warned to cover them up and empty them. They're not. I work 14, 16 hours a day. I got home, I got to go in my backyard, my front yard, clean up a bunch of garbage and debris off of my lawn because of this. And this wastewater is just another thing to make this community go downhill, and it's going to turn into a ghost town. We've got, I don't know how many houses up for sale now, and they're on the market 365 days plus because nobody can sell because nobody wants to move there. And it's a shame. Wheatland County is one of the best places around, and nothing's being done. I don't know the legal side of it. You guys know that on what we can do with this developer, but a plan's got to be put in place. Something's got to be done. We can't sit here and keep listening to the developer just talk and say they're going to do something. You know, if we put a timeline on them, I'm here to be honest with you, I'm here to try to put stop permits on all phase 1 as well. I understand phase 2 and phase 3 have had to stop put to permits. let's stop phase one. I just talked to somebody that's very respected in the community, and I told him I'm not going to be liked after I come in here and try to do something like this by a lot of people, but I don't care. I'm looking out for us right now because nobody else seems to want to do anything. And he said, you're exactly right. We're not going to hurt the community either way. And he says, we need to walk before we run. And I agree with that 100%. And I don't know, the legal standpoint, if we can do anything. I know that before you guys had voted and the permitting went to going to votes, and then it turned into a mess, so it went back to where it is again. I'd like to stop permits if we can. If not, can we go back to having council vote on permits and see how the progress of the developer is doing? They're building all these homes and they're not even being built properly. Vanity Homes is one of them that I'm talking to owners. My neighbor just moved in 8 months ago and there's not enough insulation in the attic, so his ceiling's caving in. His walls are freezing because there's not enough insulation. Another neighbor up the road there, they just moved in about 6 months ago. Finished product walls. Had to cut the whole wall and go in and redo stuff. I don't understand how all these things are being passed, and and we want to just keep building, but we're not looking after the problem that we have is wastewater. We put our house up for sale 3 months ago. We've had 0 showings, none. So we're trapped there now. And I live right on the corner of the Crescent and the Boulevard. I get a lot of traffic coming by my house. Me and my wife are outside a lot. I get a lot of people stopping by saying, hey, what's it like out here? I've had 2 people move in there because of what I said, because what I thought I know. Now what I know, I just had a guy stop in here about a week and a half ago, ask me why my house was up for sale, and I just looked at him. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. And I told him all the problems that Lakes of Muirfield, and that's sad. I mean, it's bad enough we can't sell any houses, and then when you got a resident there telling people that you shouldn't move out here because it's turning into a dive, and it's supposed to be a gated community on a golf course. So before we carry on building homes, let's take care of the problem that we have now, and that's wastewater. Let's put a timeline on it or something like that. If you don't have something concrete by January 2020, even something that we can, I'll pull my for sale sign off. But right now, we don't know. We don't know if the developer is going to go bankrupt, another one. What's going to happen? Is Wheatland County going to come in and take over that community, or this is what we're all up against? So my main thing here is just to see if we can do something as far as permitting goes, and take care of the problems that we have before we start having more. And like I say, I don't know the law. Like the one person I was just telling you about, they've got so much water going into their sump pump. They've got a PVC pipe coming down from the side of their house, shooting out onto the sidewalk every 20 minutes. Is that right? I don't think so. And we get people looking at this. Let's take care of the problems that we have before we start getting more problems. And that's basically all I've got to say, aside from I'll talk to a couple of the other fellas via email regarding weeds and stuff like that. Like, I don't know what Wheatland County's obligation is. I understand we have a board, and as far as I'm concerned, the board's not doing anything. They've been in there for 7 months now, and nothing's being done. I've got 3 feet weeds coming onto my property that I'm constantly fighting, and the garbage and that sort of thing. But basically that's it for what I want to say about the permits. Is there any possibility that we can do something like that, or come up with a solution for putting a timeline on them, or stopping permits altogether, or something? That's it.
Okay, thanks for that. Is there any questions? Jason or Scott? Sorry.
Thanks, Jason. I talked to you before a little bit about some of this, and council in the fall, we had drawn a line in the sand, so to speak, with as far as development goes, and it was called Cell 1. I just printed it off over there for you to look at, and I think it's an effective tool for what we are trying to accomplish, what you're saying, and we have been working on it, I think, and I've been in close contact with the developer on a number of these things. I've also met with the new HOA, brought our bylaw enforcement staff out to show what we can assist them to do. in helping like with the weeds issue and some things we can do, some things we can't. I do know that the board, and I think you know this as well, is meeting, they're having a public meeting on July 18th. And they're going to basically tell everybody what they have been doing, and that's where they've fallen down, so to speak, and they need to get out there and realize they're learning too, and they're new to this, and they take it on a big role. And a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, I believe, is their responsibility. The wastewater, I think we've got a good handle on what they're doing there. I do know that they've been talking to a landowner. I've confirmed that story a couple different ways. I don't know what other tools we have to do anything like, as far as getting that pushed through.
Really, no. It's, if we want the developer to do it, and then it's on his dime, then we have to more or less wait. If the county takes ownership of it and we do it, then the residents there will be faced with another debenture. And if the developer does it, then the developer does it, and it should be clear to the residents that are there. So in our, I guess, in previous meetings with Lakes and Merrifield here, when sometimes we have the place is full, and they want the developer to build it. So I'm thinking he's running out of lots to sell until he gets to this line in the sand that's been drawn. If he wants to develop there, he's got to get it done.
Well, he just sold the last 18 lots.
Yeah, but he's got way more to sell if he gets the sewer in, right?
Not in phase one though.
Yeah,
So
not in
he's
phase
done-
one, yeah.
So, and that's what our question boils down to is, like you're saying, we want him to do it and so do we, is like, I know when you build a house, say, there's, you can't just buy a piece of property and frame in the bottom and then leave it for 6 years. You've got 6 months to do whatever. Is there no limitations on?
Not that I'm aware of, sorry. It has a long history that they put a pipeline in and thought it was going someplace, and a few years later we found out it went nowhere. And they started trucking from then, and they're still trucking. That's expensive, yeah. But if he wants to develop the rest of that property, there's a huge, the potential there to make money for sure.
Yes.
He's got to get it done. He won't be selling none of that to any other developer until that is done, or to come at a huge discount, that property. So we're more or less waiting on him, for sure. Go ahead, Amber.
Just to speak to your question about putting a stop to all building permits, council's rationale for not doing that was we didn't want to penalize the home builders when this is an issue that is the developer's issue. So I just wanted to speak to that. We did consider that in our deliberations, but we determined that we didn't want to penalize those builders.
Yeah.
We wanted to have the most impact on that developer that we could, and that's why we kind of drew that line that Scott is talking about on that cell one.
Yeah.
So just so that you understand where we were coming at.
Yeah, I know, and I do understand that it's not fair to the builders, but at the same point, then, do we kind of punish the builders, or do we punish the residents? You know what I mean? Either way, somebody's going to get hurt here, and with that said, with what you're saying, he's not obligated to do it. So, does he sit there for the next 10 years and just, who cares about phase two?
If he wants to develop it, yeah, that has to happen. But to punish people that are living there when we're not punishing the developer per se, like his skin is gone out of that phase, right?
Yeah.
And his skin is in the rest of the property there. So you got to kind of go where the skin is, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not much sense penalizing individual people, and the sooner the place gets built up, and then hopefully the weeds and your vacant properties beside the house, they've got nice lawns on them then, and people looking after them.
Yeah.
So that went into our deliberations. Yeah, it was true that at one time we did individually approve. We started out not, and then to put on more pressure, we did, and that didn't get nothing happening either. So when the community come in here and they requested, no, we'd far sooner have it this way. We want people to come in, we want it built up, and everybody's paying for it, but developer gets no more break. So that's more or less where we are. And I thought by this fall coming up, somebody would be in here giving us an update. And I believe last meeting, maybe it's after the association, I'm not sure when, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting an update on what the progress is on this thing.
Well, I just talked to Jimmy on Thursday, and he told me that they had 2 different properties, and I can already see where this is going, and that's why I'm here, you know. They know that we're desperate for something, so those 2 landowners, absolutely, they're gonna be out asking outrageous money for it, and they're not gonna do that. And Jimmy said, I'm aware of that. I'm aware what possibly could happen. So if that falls through, then what? You know, is there no way that they can be forced to do it? So if, say we continue on with this and they keep building in phase 1 and in 2-3 years, still nothing is done, is there no way that the county can force them to either put a sewer in, or we're gonna take over? Like I say, I don't understand the legality. So could we possibly be sitting here for another 10 or 15 years with no sewer? And basically it's a ghost town and we got 1 phase.
At some point, if nothing happens, I would think the county would have to move in and build a lagoon or whatever it is, where regional servicing is a big word now too. I don't know what that future is going to be either. But if the county does step in, then the homeowners that are there will be footing the bill.
Yeah.
And if somebody, future development, we can put on, I'm not a legal person, but you can do whatever, debentures on it, or
So that could happen then?
it could happen
Yeah.
if things get desperate, but I'm pretty sure the developer is going to come through. It's a big market. I mean, the city's right there.
Yeah.
But
I agree with you, and I just can't believe that houses aren't selling. My neighbor across the road, she's had her house up for sale for over 6 months now. It's 500 plus. She's down now to 420. Same person that's selling my house, and she's had 2 showings.
yeah, I got relatives in the city too, and they've dropped their price in their house too. It's just not there. It's a city too,
Yeah.
so it's the era we're living in right now. It's depressed. Will it stay depressed? I doubt it. I think you have something to say, Scott.
So in regards to the future of that, I mean, there's a lot of value in lots in the future. I think the neighborhood is over 200 more, somewhere in there. That value of 100,000 plus, you do the math. For a developer not to want to develop that, I don't see that. And even if they did sell it or something, we'd still hold to the line of where we're at. So anybody else that would purchase that and walk away or whatever, the issue still has to be dealt with.
No, but it's
Yeah.
happened in the past.
Yes, it has. And I can't speak for what happened in the past, or promises that were made or spoken for or whatever. I know what I've done, and I know what this council has done, and I think we're going down the right way. And yes, it is a little bit of a wait and see what happens, but we've kind of lined everything up for, like you said, a report this fall, and I think that's triggering a lot of other things, you know. I'm very hopeful. I hope I don't eat my words on that, but I really want to see this done, and I don't see, if they go to the system that they're talking about, the land is the value, but the system is the cheapest solution for the area. Most cost-effective for the residents, and they could probably recoup some of that cost on future lots instead of hitting existing harder.
Yep.
So that's my hopes.
Yep.
Because it's an HOA, adds a definite uniqueness to the area, which is why some people had bought there. They wanted that, but it also limits us as a council as to what we can do there. It is a hamlet, but it's not. There's certain things that we do that we don't do other
Yeah.
you know, and that's where we're kind of bound. We have a lot of other hamlets that we look after all the services. That's not the case here.
Well, like I say, I'm trying to protect, I'd like to protect the whole community. I'd like to think I am. And the support that me and my wife are getting is pretty much zero. You get a lot of people saying, you know, you're right, and yeah, you should do this because I am. I will say what's on my mind. I'm here now. I think it takes a lot for somebody to come and do this, knowing that I'm going to cause waves with some people and some people not. And, you know, do we take the for sale sign off and just hope for the best, or do we keep it up for sale and keep trying to sell it, knowing that there's houses on there for over 360? We haven't had a showing at all. And I think we're reasonable, but what I'm worried about is that developer going bankrupt. And I just found out that he's not even a developer, because that's what I said. This ain't your first rodeo. You got to understand that you got into this development knowing that what it needed, and you took that responsibility on, and you're leaving us paying the bill. And that's what we're doing. We're paying the bill for that sewer. And I was told, no, he's not a developer, and yes, this is his first rodeo. And he got into this, and I don't know if anybody's aware, he got into this because the guy that had that land owed him money, and he took over that land. So, you know, is it worth him losing that $20 million and walking away, or investing another 30 hoping for the best? If he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the money. And just the way the community's being right now with our roads and our sidewalks and all that breaking and cracking, and I mean, the community's already 10 years old, gate issues every single week. Crime out there like crazy, you know, we're barely policed. We see police out there very, very so often. And I think it's just, it's a bad thing for everybody involved. Wheatland County, the developer, the residents, everybody. And if we don't, I get where you guys are talking, and I'm on your side. I mean, if we can kind of let this go and push it along and know that it's going to work, hey, I'm on board for sure. But it's been going on for 10 years. So when do we say enough's enough? And okay, they've got another solution possibly in the mix here. He told me after Stampede, they're going to start negotiating whatever. So can we not put a timeline on that, hey, okay, you got another plan in place. The other one, Homestead, fell through. Now you got this one. So by, you know, January 2019 or July 2019, if this thing doesn't pan out, you have to come up with something where we're going to step in.
Well, one thing I can say, short of hearing what our update's going to be this fall coming up, come back that day when the update is being presented to council, and then we'll sit and digest it and just see what it is. If they can come up with a concrete proposal, yeah, then all they need is approvals, then that's one thing. But if they got nothing, they got nothing.
Yeah.
And we'll have to look at that. But right now, I'm just kind of waiting on that. There's no sense for council to dwell on what the future's going to be until we get that report.
No, fair enough.
And when they were in here last, we said we would wait for it. So
Okay.
I'm thinking just, it's hard to be patient, I
Yeah.
know, but when that report comes, and if they're negotiating next week, fine. We'll, I'm sure the studies have been done and soil samples and all the rest of it. So yeah, come back then and be part of that group and voice your concerns again, and we'll see what happens then. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, thanks for coming in then.
You betcha.
Okay,
Thanks,
take
everybody.
care. Okay. Well, that's a short break. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Pass that down to Margaret, please, before I throw it in the way. Give it all to Margaret. Yeah. Okay, next on the agenda is the Deputy Reeves report. 4.2A.
Everything's pretty much what everybody else has seen. The highlight was meeting with Daryl McCartney about the GFL site. Then we had talked to him, and you've read the report, which I thought was really good. Gives us some tools to work with, I hope. And make a motion to accept my report as presented.
Okay,
Or
is
any
there any
questions?
questions? I can't hear. No questions? All in favor? Carried. Division 1 report.
Sorry, it was a little short and I forgot some of it as well, because I did it before the FCSS meeting, which I had to go to because Donna and Amber were away, and I realized I do not have a large enough heart to sit on that. Not at all. This is really loud. How do we turn it down? Is that better? Yeah, that's still loud. Yeah, gave some money away to people. That meeting, it was very interesting. Had good Chinese food though. So, and other than that, I'll touch on the FCM a little more than what I did. The workshops were really good. The youth forum was really interesting as a youth. It was interesting to see how everybody thought they should interact with them. And I mean, I'm definitely in the minority of the youth because the panelists, there was a councilwoman from Montreal and she was 28, one from Halifax and he was 26, I think, and then there was two other younger people in chief of staff for Washington DC mayor, so that was interesting, and just another very involved youth. But yeah, didn't see eye to eye on a lot of the issues that they brought forth. The one member was not in favor, like he didn't want to talk. There was a question pointed out that said, how should people be looking to involve youth? Like it was somebody around Ben's age, white, gray-haired, and the panelists said, we don't want to be approached by them. It's hard to relate and everything. So, I mean, it's very frustrating to see that closed-mindedness in the youth. And that's what it's coming down to almost, like people are wanting to get them involved, but we are the ones that are restricting in how to get involved. That's what I saw kind of in that whole workshop, which was different. And I made that vocal because that's who I am. And I talked to Nanshiak after because he was interested. And I mean, he's got Jeremy on there, and I disagreed with him too because I said it's more about the issues that get the youth in, not the people going and looking. Because you see legalization in marijuana got the youth involved. It's the certain issues rather than the people and the politics of it, I'd say. But other than that, that forum was good. Implementing Canadian infrastructure plan, that was everything the Liberals have done so far and what they're planning to do if they get reelected. It's kind of what I got out of that. Right, Glenn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we'll tell them for now.
Yeah. I mean, and how important Nenshi was. And other than that, rural crime. Let's hope they don't watch this, eh? Rural crime wasn't much. They had the commander of, I think it was F Division, so that would have been Saskatchewan, and not a lot talking about how to solve the problems of the rural crime or anything like that. It was very broad, kind of what everybody's heard. So other than that, it was a really good trip. It was interesting to listen to all the party leaders. Elizabeth May is a better comedian than a politician. But yeah, other than that, I will move my report as presented.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions? Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Division 2 Councillor.
I'll just highlight a few things from my report. I wanted to speak to SWAT for a minute. I'm just really proud of the work that SWAT has done. When I first came on council, there was some talk about disbanding SWAT or shutting it down. It's challenging to know how a coalition like SWAT can have an impact on the community. And I'm proud of the work that we've done this year, some partnerships that we've established with some of the other community agencies and groups. And I'm really looking forward to some of the collaborations we have planned for next year. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then I think everybody got the invitation to the SWAT Day in August. I know it's challenging during the summer, but if everybody wants to put that on your calendar, it should be a really good day. We're celebrating, they wanted to do an event to celebrate the 10th anniversary of SWAT, which was in 2017. So it is late, but it was important to the group, so we are going to celebrate that. A dunk tank might be fun. Okay, I'll talk to them. Another thing that I just wanted to mention, a report on the initial stage of the economic development strategy was circulated to council. And I just wanted to say that I took issue with some of the consultants' comments about one of our councillors' attendance at one of the community open houses. And I was wondering if council might consider a motion for Reeve Kester to send a letter to the consultants just addressing, I found it very disrespectful, the way that the situation was addressed. And I'm open to conversation around that.
I agree with you 100%. I was literally shocked when I read that, because I was at the meeting that there was nothing there that we were not supposed to attend.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't have attended anyhow. But there was nothing there and to point it out and then to do it doubly, I thought that was just, like Donna's handled it better than I would have let you all know. So anyways, I agree with you, Amber.
So perhaps if I could move that Reeve Kester would send a letter to the consultant company just addressing the way that that situation was handled.
That's your motion?
Yep.
Okay, is there any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a couple other things.
Okay,
I'll be
keep
quick.
going.
I've really enjoyed sitting on the Strathmore seed cleaning plant, and I just wanted to recognize Keith Reynolds is the retiring general manager with the seed cleaning plant, and he's been there for over 30 years. So I just wanted to recognize his contributions to the plant. And then we welcomed Blair Peregrine as the new CEO, and I think he's bringing some good strength to the seed cleaning plant, and we're seeing a lot of progress and developments there. And then lastly, I was thankful for the opportunity to attend the Wheatland Crisis Society AGM on behalf of the county. Our municipality was actually the only one that had a municipal elected official there. And I think that they were thankful that we sat there. And if I can have the liberty, I'm just going to read just a short excerpt of their CEO's message from that meeting. She said, "We could not do the work alone, however. We are part of a much bigger community committed to the same vision. Community partners demonstrate it every day, participating in a comprehensive domestic violence response that ensures families are safe, secure, and supported. The Wheatland Crisis Society continues to lead the community in innovative programming. We are best known as an emergency shelter, but we are so much more. As we reflect on the work done in the past year, I want to acknowledge that behind each statistic I share with you are tears, tragedy, and fear, but also trust, hope, and immense courage. This year, the Wheatland Crisis Society supported 280 men, women, and children in shelter with a safe place to stay. Each person received counseling, support, information, advocacy, and referrals. Staff assessed risk and discussed safety with each one." And then she goes on to speak to the 281 men, women, and children that they had to turn away, but that there was also processes in place to make sure that their safety was looked out for as well. And then another thing that came up at the AGM is they are moving into just some exploration of second stage shelter. And the reason I bring that up is there may be some opportunities for us to look at partnering with them in terms of a partnership, possibly even in Gleason or somewhere like that, where there might be, it may potentially be a good place for them to look at second stage housing. So that would be housing for people that are kind of through the initial crisis, but they need that next stage of support. So I did invite their CEO and a board representative to be in touch with Alan and come and present to council. And I do have a report to the community that's available if anybody would like to look at more of the statistics. And with that, I will move acceptance of my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And Division 3 Counselor report.
Yeah, I could say a few more things about FCM2. Just being into tourism, it is one of the biggest tourism cities that have done such a successful job of creating a tourism atmosphere. I think.
Put driving signs up where you don't.
Yeah, maybe some roadblocks. It was a lot different than the RMA, but still, they had their issues, but it was just so many different issues than the RMA has in comparison. 475 Albertans were there, delegates, with a total of, I think there was 1,100 and some.
2,200 or something, wasn't it?
That was at the supper.
Yeah,
No, 2,200?
delegates. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a news release also from Canadian Badlands. If anyone was interested, you can become a ambassador for them through Instagram, going to different social events. And the deadline is July 9th, so if anybody's interested or knows anybody that might be, I have all the information here. And it would be just participating more in the Canadian Badlands events that they put on, local events, venues, and you'd share those experiences through Instagram. And Carsland Aggie Days was very, very successful. I've never, ever, in all the years I've been there, gone to an event where we had to turn people away. So it was very successful, and they wanted to thank Wheatland County for all their input and support.
I'll just add to that. I was also there. I want to thank them for actually recognizing us. We were a shoot sponsor, which is great to see. You don't see that very often, so I just want to thank you guys for making it known to the public that we contributed it in some way.
And that would be the end of my report.
Okay. You're moving up?
Yes.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And Division 4 Counselor report.
Well, I guess I'm a one-trick pony. I think the only thing I really want to highlight is the June 5th, we had a meeting. At the Airdrie Detachment with Rocky View, RCMP. There was superintendent for K Division was there, and we're Staff Sergeant Delaron made a presentation about the amount of time that a regular police officer, constable, spends doing paperwork, doing stuff that the watch clerk is capable of doing. I noticed Alan has sent out the email of Staff Sergeant's presentation. It's very interesting. It'll be interesting going forward because it's going to be very easy to track 1 year from now whether or not this is making a difference. Although anecdotally, I've been hearing people saying, well, I've seen RCMP officers out where there's never been RCMP officers before. So me being a positive person thinking that this has got something to do with it. I'm not sure how we go forward when presented with the hiring of another watch clerk. There was 4 members of the MD of Rocky View there, and they were all very positive. And I just don't know going forward how we should talk to them. I don't know, send them a letter, ask them how it's going. I've heard a couple of bizarre things about what they're going to fund, and there was not. I was there. That was not what I assumed the agreement was. So if we could sort of figure out if we could ask them if they are actually going to fund a full-time watch clerk. And along the same lines, I am just working on, I'm thinking that I would like to put a proposal together at RMA, and I'll get it together before August 15th, about the watch clerk is such an integral part of the policing system that if a police station has a four-person watch, then there should be watch clerks on every, and that should not be the responsibility of the municipalities to be funding that. That should be part of the provincial government, or should be funding a watch clerk for every watch that they're paying for, right? So just so it's, I think it's something that works, but I think they're offloading that onto us, and I think it should be part of the system if it works. And it appears everybody that's doing this claims it's working, so. With that, I will submit my report as presented.
Okay. Any questions or, Alan?
Let's add something to Councillor Eichert's report, if I may. June 26, 2018, council decisions, Rocky County. Council voted to approve up to $67,000 to fund a watch clerk position with the Strathmore RCMP on trial basis. The position will take on administrative duties, allowing constables more time for community policing. The funding will come from the general reserve. And further to that, I was presented with an agreement for the funding for the watch clerk that Wheatland County is funding. And that was provided to me about a week ago, so I haven't had a chance to look through it. There was no consultation on that, so there might be some changes required to that agreement. So that continues to move forward as well. So.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Division 7, Councillor report.
Sarah, before you $1,000 in 1980. We got 300 in reserve when we ordered this one. Part of my report. Not showing up. I got out and maybe supplies you buy for them, rubber gloves that don't puncture, both front and back, and sometimes. Mentioned so that part of our sites here. Up to our landfill administrator. Talked to the Drumheller bylaw officer, and he's a little reluctant to say yes. Problem that's coming up there. Other thing that came from letter from wondering if anybody is agreeable to these, this ag plastic program that they send off a letter of. RMA president, cattle feeders, party. Send them to this address.
Okay, we'll do that motion first. Is there any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and
Session here the other day. Moving on for. Didn't hear a thing, it didn't get recorded. So, Donna was there and Jason was there also, and we got into discussion on the environmental issues around these roads when we're building them and the cost of it. And keep it short, after it was over, the fellow that said that he was going to make some comments on it come up and talk to me afterwards, and he said, you know, when we're making our decisions and talking about that and discussing that at their meetings, we never thought about the cost to the municipalities and that they have no way of recovering it. Because some of their comments was, well, the contractors have to go through the same thing and the developers have to go through the same thing, but they can recoup their cost. We have no way of recouping that cost. So he said he was going to take that to his planning group and discuss it amongst theirs. So I got thinking about that on the way home, and I was thinking maybe, and I started working on one, that I was going to bring it forward as a resolution for Central Zone 2 along that path to send to the government and environment for some kind of recognition or compensation when we're building these roads, when we have to go through all that environment stuff to compensate some of the cost of the municipalities, because we're restricted to where we can do the work. We can't just cut across a quarter with a road to go somewhere. It's got to be on and if there's a slough in the way, well, fine. So I'm working on a resolution. I'll bring it back to council. If council would like, I'll bring it back at the next
okay.
council.
What is the timelines to get a resolution in? Can you tell me off the top of your head, Alan?
September 13th, I think it was, yeah.
Sometime in there.
Okay,
For the
so it gives
October
us a
meeting.
month
Yeah.
after
Yeah,
next month?
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, because I've got most of it in point form, but I haven't finished it.
okay.
And what else was there on there? I think that was it, other than this Alberta Care.
That's the next request after.
A request for attendance for Fort McMurray. Is it Fort McMurray? Yeah,
Okay.
to attend Fort McMurray Alberta Conference Care.
Do you want to do that now?
I don't care.
Well, since you've been talking about it, let's do it now.
Okay.
Okay, Tom has moved.
I'll move that we approve.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried.
So I'll move my report. And a little comment at the end of my report, I don't know if anybody read that, but
I see ya.
put them on there every once in a while to see if anybody actually reads these reports. So, never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty and the pigs love it. So,
Okay, so Ben moved a report. Are there any questions for Ben on his report? All in favor? Carried. And Cycling. Okay, staff report, CAO.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my report is attached. I only had one thing to comment in regards to over and above what's in there, and that's the Municipal Affairs Emergency Management Act engagement. Both myself and our Fire and Emergency Management Coordinator were in attendance on June 26th in Calgary to provide our comments in regards to the Alberta Emergency Management Framework Review. I would suggest Council take a look at that and provide your comments as well. It's a thorough review of the Act. It will mean some minor tweaks of our requirements and acts and bylaws, but nothing too insurmountable at this point. One of the things that the province is pushing is when there's an evacuation order issued by the municipality, there will be consequences to the residents if they don't follow that evacuation order. One of the topics that was talked about. And I guess where that comes from is during the High River and Calgary floods, a lot of people never left their residence, and then they phoned after when it got too bad, and they put first responders at risk by doing that. So there's going to be possibly fines and repercussions in regards to that. I'm not totally all in agreement with what they're proposing, but it'll have the option there for municipalities to issue fines and that. So I would suggest that the council should take a look at that and provide your feedback on that. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions? Motion to accept. Okay. Okay, and all in favor? Carried.
Mr. Chairman, the next request for decision involves the ownership of the Gleason Central Bow Valley School in Gleason. This is follow-up. There's a letter attached that came from the Golden Hill School Division. We'd requested no conditions or limited conditions. They've come back with a number of conditions. My suggestion is, or recommendation is, either to accept this way it's at, or we could arrange for a meeting of the board with council to see if we can have some of these conditions relaxed. The policies, both for disposition of property, policy 20 is a Golden Hills School Division policy, and the disposition of property regulation is attached. That's from the School Act. So there is certain requirements that they need to follow in regards to that. So.
Okay. Thoughts, wishes?
Sorry.
Okay.
The only thing I have any real concern about is the ownership of the modular classrooms. You know, I've got no problems with them taking those modular classrooms, but I don't think it's on us with this kind of stuff that we're going to store it for 3 years. We got to maintain the possibility that they're not going to be vandalized and all that kind of stuff. So we have to board all that kind of stuff up. That's going to all cost us money. I would like to see if we're going to, that we should have a negotiation on that. You know, we give them till the end of the year to, if they want them, they move them off the property. If they're not moved off the property, then we'll assume ownership of that. It's just that I just really don't like the idea that we're going to be a storage lot for them for 3 years in that location.
So, Mr. Chairman, I could speak to that a little bit. In regards to Golden Hills School Division retaining ownership of the modulars, that would mean they would have to maintain those modulars. We wouldn't be responsible for that. They would have to maintain insurance on those modulars as well. As regards to the 3 years, that could be a request that I can make back on behalf of council that, no, we don't want to do the 3 years. We're only saying till the end of 2018 or 2019 or whatever council decides. So we're not assuming any ownership on those modulars whatsoever or responsibility for this.
Then that's, you know, and I'm good with that. I think we should just, that end date is just 3 years is a long time. So I'm thinking that if we give them to the end of 2018 and see what we can negotiate from, I think that's making us more than fair. Like we're, because those modulars of that, all that, everything that's there, they're probably worth the most amount of money on that site. So if we're giving that up, like I said, I don't think we need to have them, you know, I think they should be able to figure out whether they need them in a 6-month, 8-month period of time.
I have an issue with point 2 though, as well. I mean, not for selling it to the private. And I did not intend to buy this school to enhance the community at all. That is not the reason we bought it. And if we want to sell it, I think we should be able to sell it.
Again, we're not purchasing necessarily, it's $1, so it's just an exchange of the property. Don't forget that Wheatland County at one time, I believe, owned this, or Village of Gleason probably owned it at one time. So they're just returning a rightful property back to Wheatland County, probably. I understand what you're saying in regards to this sell it at a profit. That could be another comment, but I believe their policies clearly state in the School Act and the regulations, it does talk about resale of property that's given to, so there is probably not a lot they can change on that, just to be honest with you, but certainly can offer that up as well, but they might be restricted by their policies in the school regulations.
I have a problem with the modular classrooms being stored on site for up to 3 years, because I don't want to be responsible for not demolishing that within 3 years. I don't want to waste that kind of money on it. And if that being said, that originally they got the bare land from the municipality, then maybe they should return it to us as bare land at their expense, because that's what we're going to do.
I wouldn't mind meeting with Golden Hills.
Staff's going to take it back and address these comments then?
I will arrange for a meeting with Golden Hills School Division.
Okay, thank you.
Just keep in mind that I'll try to work with their schedules, so may not work with everybody's schedule. We'll try to get the meeting before the July break if possible. So.
Okay. Okay, and then I don't think we need a motion for that to have a meeting, no.
Corey Allen, just a question. When did we say we would be talking about the development of Gleason again? September.
PowerPoint. Get too big for me. Okay, Strathmore Stampede, request for decision.
So let's follow up to council's request. I talked to the general manager at the Strathmore District Ag Society. He took it to their board and they are proposing a letter of agreement for the funding donation, which is now completed. I believe the dust control has been done out at the Ag Society. At least they were working there last week. I think it's all done. So we've also included a multi-year if council was so to choose, but I think a 1-year commitment was all that council committed to at this time for titanium sponsorship, and basically it identifies in there what that provides as well. I think they had asked for a reuse message to go in their annual Stampede program, and that would be on page 2 or page 3 of the program from my understanding. So this is just accepting that agreement in principle and moving forward.
Thoughts, comments? Motion?
Did you end up grading it?
The only thing I wanted to ask council is if we want to do anything with the parade, like, as a council. Have you ever before? I go to it, but apparently I didn't pay attention.
In the past, it was left up to the councillors of the area if they wanted to do something. I don't know what their idea is now, but
Okay.
I don't want to come into it.
Okay. But I still need a motion for it to accept this agreement or not, or is that what we want to do?
I'll move that council approve the signing of the Strathmore Stampede Letter of Agreement for 1 year in regard to dust control donation to the Strathmore District Agricultural Society, and further that 2 4x8 signs be purchased out of the communications budget.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Yeah. And Advocacy Committee, 4.4, A4.
Just a further comment to Councillor Amber's question. It was discussed to quite some length at one time, and it was decided that if we do it for one, we have to do it for all of them. And how do you do? Do you want to start going to every parade and every? If it's done as a council thing, if it's done individually, it's fine. But if it's done as a council, it becomes a pretty costly time commitment to all council and staff, because at that time, the council at hand thought the staff should be doing a lot of the work. So.
We also had a float too that we're trying to build and stuff, yeah. It needs more talk of preparing for sure. I don't know. Donna?
I went in the Carsland, they wanted me to ride in the Carsland one. But we need to get a sign that says Wheatland County Councilor or something that, because I was shocked how many people asked what I was in the parade.
That was my question. If we do go, is there signage available for us? No? Okay.
I would like to see something developed that would be available for individual councillors to use. It doesn't have to be necessarily an elaborate float, but definitely some signage, or like, I'd be willing to work on something, and Councillor Wilson said, putting words in his mouth, that he'd be interested in having something available. We do have a lot of community events, and I wouldn't in any way expect it to be like an expectation that all of council would attend. But when you look at Strathmore Stampede, like there's a number of our divisions that border it, and certainly a number of our residents that are involved. And I think because we are sponsors of it, and just because of our proximity and kind of collaboration between the municipalities, we should have a presence there. But I don't want to make a ton of work for staff either.
Yeah, I don't want to go over and above and cost a bunch of money, but I mean, I don't agree that we don't have to do it to every parade in the county. That's a pretty major parade. That's the third largest rodeo in Alberta. I mean, I'm not going to go and do the big old adventure for every, like for Standard and Gleason and Hazard. I mean, no, I'm saying that's a third largest rodeo in Alberta. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. We're advertising what we do for them. We're showing that we're part of the community, and not just Strathmore. There's the surrounding community. We were out there. We can't say we didn't have a presence. I mean, I do think we could have a presence at the parade.
Well, and to me, it's not necessarily about the scale of the parade. Like, whether it's a big parade or a smaller parade, if we have something available that individual councillors can choose to use for an event, I think we should have something that's professional and represents the county well, that we have access to. And I do feel strongly about it, because I don't want to go with like a handmade sign in the. Convertible. Yeah, there you go.
I was thinking of Bentley convertible.
Yeah, I had a convertible.
Okay.
We went through it the last time. If council's involved in it, and it's a council, then there's insurance, there's liability, and that's what screwed it up the last time, was because staff had to be involved to get it there, to get the float there, to do, it just became, you want to do something, do it. Get your community to help you do it, do it.
would council consider simply signs? Like just,
Yes.
you could make 7 signs, have them be stored here. I think we could
I've
be
got my-
trusted to
I've got my
transport
sign.
them.
I've got my sign. It took 10 minutes to make it.
But I would like it to be consistent and professional. I really would. I feel strongly
I'll
about it.
make you a sign.
And s- I would agree, something that's consistent.
Or got to be, I would think fairly Pacific, or somebody has to design it, or just those magnetic ones that just stick on car doors, or? Yeah. Do it, so we can get it done. We probably won't get it done for this year's parade. How about we put it on the committee of the whole for September 13th or something, what it was? And then we can talk about it then, so bring our ideas to that meeting. Then I won't need a motion for that. Okay, Tom? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Request for decision, Wheatland County approves appointment. That's page 187 for this advocacy committee. Anyone else interested in it? Amber, would you be interested in that, or advocacy? There'll be other things too. Anyway, we've got a request there on the thing. Yeah. But I don't have to be on it. If somebody else wanted to be on it, I don't know. I don't know how. I think the first one's going to be very short, but they could build in. Give you a little history. I'm thinking this advocacy committee come because there used to be one at Edmonton, and it was there for a few years, and now it's the executive committee does it. But the Calgary board doesn't have an executive committee because they're all appointed members. So until such a time, but at the same time saying that, I'm a firm believer that we do things our way down here, not just because Edmonton did it. So that's kind of the history of it. There's going to be some things to advocate for and some not. To be, I'm thinking press releases, not really press release, but, you know, advocate for some of the changes and stuff too, if you're interested in it, or.
Well, would it be reasonable to put a motion on the floor then that the Wheatland Council approve the appointments of the Reeve and to that and the Deputy Reeve as an alternate if the board decides to put one together? If they put one together, we better have somebody.
It's going to be put together.
Then I would.
It's
Oh, okay,
approved.
then. Because there's not much sense of me going and sitting on the advocacy board when I'm not at the other meetings and I don't know what's going on in the rest of it. You guys are the ones that are going. May as well be the ones that sit on that advocacy
Okay.
committee on behalf of the county. So I'll move the recommendation.
I'm just, I can see the value of having Amber there, like if she's interested in it. In the fact that I would like to see, I believe this is really important, this Calgary Metropolitan Region Board. And I can see that we may have to do a little like come to council, a half hour early or something like that, in order to discuss what we have talked about in the previous month in our various councils. And I can, I'm a firm believer that, the more input you have, the better the decisions are made. And I understand where Councillor Armstrong's coming from, because, but I think if everybody's up to speed on it, I think along the same lines, I think we should probably, I would like to see if we can maybe put out a news release on what's happening, just for the members, for our ratepayers at large to know what's going on here, because this is, I don't think people, like, I'm still having a hard time grasping how big this thing, or how important this thing could be to the area that's affected in Wheatland County.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. We could, as written here, if Amber's, if you were really interested in it, we could, you would be? Would you consider amending it? I don't have a problem taking my name off and putting Amber's on.
I think though, if we're gonna do that,
Yeah.
Scott's got a little bit in there, so Scott's fine with it.
Yeah. It's not that I don't want to be on it, and it's the fact that I like to get as much as council involved as we all got talents and we all got strengths, right? And I think together we're stronger than a single person, for sure. So if you'll accept that, and it's as good as the next meeting. Any other questions?
My only question is, what's the motion now?
Amber and Scott.
Division 2 and Division 5?
5.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Request for decision, bylaw 2018-19, procedural bylaw.
Mr. Chairman, the revisions that council had requested to the bylaw have been made from first and second reading, and we're just asking for third and final reading at this time.
Okay. Did you highlight the changes? No additional? Okay. Okay. Council's wishes. Okay, Ben has moved. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And corporate and financial services, request for decision, corporate and financial services report. Go ahead, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on page 217 of your agenda package is the corporate and financial services report for the month of June. To note that taxes were due on, well, today, July 3rd, just as June 30th fell on the weekend. That's about it. There's not too much to report out of corporate services this past month.
Any questions? Motion to accept. Go ahead, Scott.
I'll move that we accept corporate and financial services report as information.
Thanks, Jason. All in favor? Carried. Request for decision donation to the estate. Question, does this happen often?
Through the chair, in my experience here, no, this is the first one. That being said, they're certainly welcome.
Okay,
Do you want a motion?
go ahead, please.
I'll move that council approve the Wheatland County Administration send a letter to the estate of Charlotte Jesse Prowse to extend the county's appreciation for the generous donation. That council approve county administration contacting Alberta Capital Finance Authority and make an extra payment in the amount of $1,741.54 from the estate of Charlotte Jesse Prowse towards the Gleason Water debenture held through the Alberta Capital Finance Authority.
Okay. Council, that's really two motions. Council have a problem with two motions? All in favor? Carried on both. And request for decision, Human Resource Policy 6.1.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On page 221 of your agenda package, we have updated our policy. So with changing times and just trying to provide clarity to staff and public, we want just to update our policies for legislative changes and provide further clarity to staff.
Okay, any questions? Council's desires. Okay, Tom has moved. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Brian. Transportation infrastructure. Good afternoon, Mike.
Good afternoon, Council. Okay. I've submitted the Transportation and Infrastructure July 3rd report for activities that occurred in June 2018. An update, it's construction season, so all the crews are going full out now. We have the construction crew currently on Range Road 201 out by Hazar, finishing up the 2 miles down to the Township 240. Contractor did that road a number of years ago, and so this is just our crews finishing up the job on the dump road north of that. And then just a note, the tenders are closed for 2 of the 3 jobs we're looking at for capital projects. I think I reported that last council that 640 Earthworks has got the contract for Carsland underground replacement and storm pipe. That work, they're actually meeting right now. I'm trying to finalize the construction startup date on there. They're on site right now meeting. So once I receive that firm date, I'll relay it to Alan for distribution to council. What's that, sorry? I knew it. The waste transfer site. Is that the, yeah, Tammy gets me on that one too. The other contract job we have closed currently is Range Road 270. That was closed and the tender awarded to Contour Earth Moving. They're doing, I believe, 4 miles from Highway 1 down to Glenmore Trail and actually a little bit south of Glenmore Trail. They're going to extend that Range Road 270 construction out. And paving tender will hopefully be closed and awarded this Thursday, the July 5th. And that includes Eagle Lake Road, Global Training Road, and the Railway Avenue through Cheadle. So those are some updates. Sorry? Yes, and I have a new manager of transportation and utilities that started this week. So we're very excited. I was hoping he'd be here, but he's actually had to step out to go to that on-site meeting in Carsland this morning. So, or else I would have him here to introduce you to council. Okay. Very excited to have him here. He's actually a former Town of Strathmore employee and City Calgary employee. Did a lot of the same duties in those positions there too. So,
Sorry, Mike, I was pulled up my map. It's the older map for the paving. We said that the 250 would be paved this year, next year?
No, it should be,
Or when did we say it was going to get paved? I couldn't remember, and people were asking me the other day. 2019 it was?
yeah, so.
I just knew it was blue. I couldn't remember which ones were blue.
There you go. So 2019 hashed
Yeah.
blue. Through the chair, 2019 construction is Township Road 250 from Highway 21
And that'll be paved.
to 817, correct?
So you'll be
That's-
there'll be some construction
There's
this year?
through the chair, there's a small portion of that road that we were anticipating on reconstructing, but after further review, we don't feel like we need to.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question for council. I talked to Mike about it briefly the other day. We had some members of the colony in here this morning, and they've now moved over to their new location, northeast of Standard. There's a 2-mile stretch from their colony straight south that ties into the 564 highway. It's undeveloped. My discussion with Mike was, should we as council look at that as to put a road in there to move the access of that colony straight to the highway rather than to the west 3 miles, to the east 3 miles, and south. It's going to take a lot of traffic off of and away from the front of about 4 or 5 residences and take the traffic straight down to the highway so that there's less impact on our, because if they start moving product around the other roads, we're going to have to go in there and do some major rework on those roads. And I thought it might be cheaper if we looked at building a brand new 2 miles. There's no sloughs or anything in there that I can think of. Down. No, but this one is pretty, this one should be a fairly, the other roads that we're going to have to rebuild, I know have sloughs on them. And they're already damaging those roads with the product they're hauling from there. So just a request to council, if I could ask Mike and his staff to take a look at that, and I would even consider looking at some of the roads in my area that are scheduled if it needs to be a bump of some kind, but I think we need to take a look at that. Well, I'm not saying bump it, just move it. Because this one I could put on the list, but it would be 10 years down the road. By that time, we will probably be rebuilding one of those roads. So
That is our policy too, to reevaluate, and if a road is needed, we can,
yeah.
yeah.
So if I'd put a motion on the floor that staff reevaluate, take a look at it and evaluate the possibility of maybe putting a link to the 564. And that's the divide road between Division 6 and Division 7. It's half of it. It's a mile,
No, it's still a mile away.
still a mile away.
I think, yeah.
So,
Or 2, maybe.
but it's undeveloped. There's nothing there. It's
Through the chair, 214, yeah.
It's not a which? There's no
Correction lines
count,
are-
well, there's, on the north side, there's the oil company has come in there from the north into probably a half mile in there or more, but on the south side, it's nothing. It's farmed, yeah, so. North of the 564.
Just into Ben's area, about 2 miles.
It's a mile west of the 840.
There, you got it.
It's either a mile or 2 miles west of the 840, 842, whichever that one is. It comes up from Chancellor. So,
Mr. Chairman, we can take a look at that and bring back some recommendations for the 2019 to 2022
yeah.
budget. Yep.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mike,
Yes.
just, can you bring us up to, like, what is the Cooperative Stormwater Management Initiative?
Oh,
Like, I don't know if anybody,
great. It's been going on for about 9 years. I'll try and keep it to Cole's notes version here, but basically, early 2009, 2010, WID put restrictions on stormwater flow that allowed into their canals. Pretty high restrictions that basically shut down any kind of discharge unless it was mechanical treatment. That was put against all the municipalities in the area here, right from Calgary, Chestermere, Strathmore, all that. Anything that discharges in their system. So we all got together as a cooperative and started forming a group to determine alternative solutions. Worked for a couple of years and basically came out with a solution which is actually an out-of-canal system. It'll be a parallel drainage channel to the existing WID drainage, depending on where it is in the area. Hartel Coulee will be enhanced in certain areas, but other areas there'll be actually a bypass around the south side of Chestermere. There's a number of under drains under the canals going north to Serviceberry Creek. Lots of different infrastructure all across the region to service the 5 partners, which are Calgary, Strathmore, Wheatland, Rocky View, and Chestermere. So we've been going through the governance models, all that sort of thing. We've had a master plan done up in about 2015 that I believe might even be on our website. But overall, right about now is where we're getting into the actual detailed design. Last meeting, we have weekly meetings now on this because we're getting into the crunch time with this. We've been awarded, I think, around the area of $9 million overall to fund this first stages of this construction. So right now we're at the stage of landowner plot plans, basically designs. We're going to have a couple different options. And a great question because this is around the time that the community engagement is going to start. So next meeting, I'll be bringing some information to council as far as an overview plan, what council would see and what the ratepayers would see for negotiations on improving these channels throughout it. Truthfully, we are, I think, 2.3% of the total inputs of the system. Rocky View is around 60%. I think the next highest one is Chestermere at around 23%. So varying degrees of inputs and overall onus on paying for the system. $100 million system, we're on the hook for about $2.5 million overall, and that will be over the next 10, 15 years. So we do have small inputs into it, but it also allows us the option of increasing our flows in there if need be. Maybe we enhance the channel a little bit more. We're kind of having conversations with Strathmore about the south drainage out of theirs and how we can input into that. So that wasn't really the Coles Nose version, but it really is because we've been working on it since 2010, and it's kind of coming to fruition here in the next year.
I don't want to dig too deep into this.
Sure.
But is Eagle Lake part of this? Is it going to be part of the stormwater? Like, sort of where a lot of, like, Strathmore water, stormwater, is that going out to? That's
right. So the south and east portions of Strathmore do drain into channels which ultimately discharge into Eagle Lake through their drainage channel there. So we have a separate system there basically where we only had development of Eagle Shores discharging in there. Now that is kind of on hold or put back, Strathmore is basically responsible for all the costs of inputting that or improving that system. The north side of Strathmore discharges Serviceberry Creek, and there's another system designed up there. I can forward any information, some plot plans or some design schematics to council if you wish, or through Alan, just to get an idea of where the actual systems are anticipated. Okay.
Any other questions? Donna?
I hate to say it again, is it the lights for Speargrass? Do you know whereabouts that's at?
Through the chair, the front entrance lights?
Yeah.
The approval was brought to council last month, and it's been sent into Fortis for design, I guess you could say. Once a quote is approved, then they go through a design and an actual construction scheduling. So it's in that process right now. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks through them. Yep, for sure. Yeah, Fortis is going to be responsible for installing them.
Okay, any other questions? I was made aware of some dust control that was put down by the county at La Alta. And then the road is banned and restricted access to that elevator.
Yep.
I'm thinking, I didn't like that, but I think there's got to be a way around that. Because that was just opened up a couple weeks ago, I heard. I didn't hear about it all the while it was banned. People can't haul into the elevator. And that's affecting people's livelihoods. It's always been there. I just thinking council's going to have to rethink that dust control or allow something on that road. So I'd like to bring it up sometime, or if you can bring council up to date just what's on that road, or I'm not expecting an answer now. The ban's off, so it's not so important. But before it goes on again, I'd like to have a council aware of what's going on down there. Yeah, I was surprised to find that out. Yeah.
Yeah, through there, I can just update right now.
Okay.
We did put millings down, I believe last year, at the beginning of last year, some leftover millings from the highway project. And because of that, we did have to ban it this year. We got a lot. We got the majority of the calls you didn't get on that one. So we gave permits wherever we could. Anyone that applied for one would get a relaxation permit to allow to haul on that. But yeah, definitely, it's something that a lot of the folks weren't aware of and weren't expecting or being able to plan around. So we're going to relook at that if that's the right place for this dust control next year.
Okay.
Or if we remove it. And the structure of the road isn't great either. So the ban made sense with the millings on it, but we can do the same thing with calcium and not have to ban it next year either, though.
Okay.
So we're reviewing it.
Review it, and yeah, okay, thanks for that.
Yep.
And any other questions? Motion to accept his information. Jason, all in favor? Carried.
Through the chair, I have a report here that Tammy gave me. I'll just hand over to Mike. It's on the transfer stations at Strathmore, and some pictures with it, and then if you talk to Tammy or myself.
Very
Just
good.
a heads up. She's going to finalize the report and send one out to everybody, and I said, well, if you've got one for those, I'll take and give it to him now, and he can start working on the
Great.
process with them, so.
Resolution for road closure, Plan 6188BM. Just for decision. Council's wishes. I can't hear you, Ben. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, through the chair, this one has been approved by council a number of times in the past, and when it gets to the land title stage, different inspectors or different examiners have refused it, regardless of what the previous examiner has given us approval on. So it's frustrating for our end too, because we are getting mixed signals through that. So that's why you see it before you hear again.
So it's going back again, or it is approved now?
This will be going back again.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to rescind the bylaw?
Sorry, this is through a resolution, that's why. This is a resolution, it doesn't require a bylaw. Basically, council can close the road a number of ways, either going through bylaw public hearing or making a resolution and having all adjacent landowners basically agree to it. So because we've tried the bylaw way and been refused a couple of ways, we're been recommended by land titles to do it this way. and then it in effect produces the same end result, but usually this is more onerous because you have to go around, but this other way had become more onerous, so we're trying it this way. So yeah, no, this will go off to minister for signing, and you shouldn't have to see it again. Should.
No wonder I haven't seen this before.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go back to that page, which was 271. That's the motion you're looking for, all on that in red. Council's wishes.
I'll move we accept the recommended action
Okay,
to close the undeveloped road as described in the,
okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. I'm thinking we need a break. I'm missing a counselor. It is 2:30.
either that or he didn't want to vote.
Yeah. Didn't say goodbye.
No, those are,
Yeah.
she liked that one at Strathmore, just, she thought maybe.
So this is a review of what
She went out with the guy from Hollow. Oh, yeah. And did a review of that, and you can just comment on. You should say, please say that that's Strathmore. What I'm talking about the other day.
Oh.
Where the connections are. They're trying to keep them from leaking like happen. But he said this isn't bad, but if,
Those are hydraulic connections there?
yeah, that's what
We have request for decision for refund for calcium chloride, page 276. Council's wishes.
I'll move that, $870.22.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Mike. Thank you very much. And we'll have Agriculture, Community, and Protective Services report.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
No, you can't. Oh, there we go. You have before you my report, which is the report from May. Not too much additions to add to it, other than the main one, which is we have hired the new Parks Coordinator. He started last Monday. It's Mr. Dave Rhymes. He was previously in the town of Strathmore. So he brings a wealth of experience in parks and recreation. So super excited to have him on board. He's got an awful lot of stuff to look at and drive around and see. And so he's setting up meetings with Mike and Bryce, the new manager of transportation, Russ, various different staff members to get a feel for the county, what's out there. And he's actually out and about this afternoon, I believe. So pretty excited about that. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. Any questions?
No question, just a comment. I really like the map from Airfield and also the map showing where all everything's going on within the county. It's nice to see that in a map form.
Well, I would just like to say that the addition of the map did come from council's discussions with us, so we do listen to what you're saying and the information that you're looking for. Sometimes we can't read your mind, so if you have anything, just please let us know and we'll do our best to provide that for you. So if you have any other queries, etc., we'll definitely try and verbalize it or visualize it in these department reports.
I appreciated the summary report too, like the format was easier than just the bar graphs. It's just easier to look, for me anyways.
Council's wishes. Amber?
I'll move acceptance of the Agriculture, Community, and Protective Services report as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Angie. request for decision, alternative land use services program. Page 294.
I'll move that recommendation as presented.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, Fire Chief Standard Fire Department.
Every year this happens. So does he met any of our, is he capable, or is he met, or are we just accepting their recommendation as a?
We are accepting the recommendation of the Standard Fire Association.
So we still haven't implemented something that we look at for.
My only comment on that is that Judy's unable to be here this afternoon, but I'm not sure what agreements or contracts we have in place with Standard to determine what they have to meet for Wheatland County. Will that, I don't think that'll be part of the bylaw. No, that'll be the agreement. It'll be part of the agreement, which will come out from the fire bylaw. We have to get the fire bylaw approved, and then agreements, either new ones created or revised, etc. So whatever council wishes to be in those agreements, and that could be one of those things, we can certainly look at doing that, if you'd wish.
I think we have to keep in mind, as I mentioned in my report, the Emergency Management Act is under review. The next one could be the Fire Act too, right? We're the only province, or maybe I better not say only province, but one of the few provinces that has no provincial standards for firefighters. So it's likely coming, and it'll be thrust upon us like everything else. So I think we need to be prepared for that. You look at Saskatchewan, they operate, most of their departments are volunteer departments. They operate quite well, but they need to meet certain requirements for the safety of the firefighters. That's where we're heading in this province. It's probably not a bad thing, but I know it's going to be met with some resistance from some of our fire associations, but that's where we're going.
Any other questions? I will move that we approve the appointment of Mark DeGay as Fire Chief for Standard.
I'll note that I checked CRAS's website last night and it actually had reports up for the first time. I've probably checked a dozen times since they were here, and they were reporting they were up.
Motion accept. Scott?
I move to accept the reports as information. Correspondence, I correct myself.
I'll move.